The corporate lobby gleamed under bright lights, office workers chatting and laughing. A single father in a worn janitor uniform stood there, holding nothing but a mop. "You only know how to clean floors!" The mocking voices echoed through the hall. But when four armed men burst in, chaos erupted. Just seconds later, the entire lobby fell silent as the janitor spun that mop in his hands. Meet Michael Carter, 37 years old, single father, tall and strong, but wearing a faded janitor uniform, his black hair showing streaks of gray. He cleaned floors at a major corporate building, quietly earning money to raise his 9-year-old daughter, Sophie. The office workers constantly mocked him. Janitor for life. No education. What a waste. Michael always stayed silent, just bowed his head, continued his work, mopping floors until they sparkled. Sophie would wait for her dad after his shift, bringing him homemade lunch in a small container. The employees would still laugh. Even his kid has to take care of him. One day, when the elevator got stuck, Michael helped pry open the doors, pulled a young woman to safety, but no one thanked him. Behind his back, people whispered, "Just lucky, nothing special." What they didn't know, Michael was a former Marine who left service after personal tragedy. That past, that he never talked about. The real Michael showed through small moments. When a young employee deliberately spilled coffee on the clean floor, Michael calmly mopped it up again, then quietly said, "Clean floors help everyone walk steady." His daughter watched from across the lobby, eyes full of pride, even when others couldn't see her father's true worth. Every morning, Michael arrived early, stayed late, never complained. His uniform might be faded, but his work ethic shined brighter than any corporate suit. The other janitors respected him, but the office workers, they saw only a man with a mop, not the hero hiding underneath. Michael's hands, calloused from years of cleaning, still moved with precision, muscle memory from another life, when he held different tools for different purposes. But those days were buried beneath daily routines, beneath the need to provide, beneath the simple love of a father who would do anything to give his daughter a better life. The mocking continued, day after day, week after week. "Look at the janitor, Dad. Imagine having him as your father. So embarrassing. What kind of role model is that?" Michael heard every word, felt every sting, but never responded with anger or frustration. He had learned through hard experience that actions speak louder than any argument ever could. The corporate executives walked past him daily, treating him like furniture, like he was invisible, meaningless, disposable. Little did they know, those same weathered hands that cleaned their messes had once saved lives in dangerous places, far from this gleaming corporate tower. His military decorations sat hidden in a box at home, medals for valor, for courage under fire, for sacrifices they couldn't imagine. And soon, very soon, they would see exactly what those hands, that quiet determination, and that protective father's heart were truly capable of accomplishing. One evening, an important conference filled the main lobby. CEOs, company leaders, VIP guests, all gathered for the biggest meeting of the year. Michael worked silently in the background, mopping around the edges, invisible to the powerful people. A security guard waved him away. "Get out of here. Don't make the company look bad. We have important guests." Michael stepped back to the corner, continued his work, didn't argue, never argued. But something caught his eye. 4 men in business suits walking through the entrance. Something felt wrong. Their suits were expensive, but their shoes? Military boots, not dress shoes. Their posture? Too alert, too scanning, not like business guests. Michael moved closer to a security guard, spoke quietly. "Something's not right about those 4 men. The guard laughed and pushed him away. "Mind your own business. Stick to mopping floors. Don't try to do our job." Across the lobby, Sophie sat in a small chair, waiting for Daddy to finish work, reading a book, completely unaware. Michael's trained eyes kept tracking the four strangers, their movements too coordinated, too purposeful, hands hovering near jacket pockets. He had seen this before, in different places, under different circumstances, when life and death hung in the balance. The janitor tried one more time, approaching another guard. "Please, those men, they're not here for business." "Listen, old man, you clean toilets for a living. We handle security. Stay in your lane." Michael's heart pounded, not from fear, but from recognition. These weren't businessmen. They were operators, and they were here for something bad. He caught Sophie's eye, made a small gesture, pointed toward the reception desk. His daughter, smart and observant, quietly moved behind the counter, trusting Daddy completely. The four men spread out across the lobby. Perfect positioning, professional spacing, textbook formation. Michael gripped his mop tighter, muscle memory flooding back. 18 years of civilian life, but 20 years of military training still lived in his bones. The corporate executives continued their meeting. Security guards chatted casually. Office workers typed on phones. Nobody noticed, except the janitor. One of the strangers made eye contact with Michael, studied him for a moment, then dismissed him. Just another cleaning guy, harmless, invisible. That was their first mistake. Michael had survived 3 tours overseas, earned medals he never displayed, saved fellow Marines in situations most people couldn't imagine. But here, in this corporate lobby, he was just the janitor, the man with the mop, the single dad, working late to pay rent. The four men checked their watches, synchronized, professional, deadly. Michael positioned himself, seemingly random, but strategically placed, between the strangers and the crowd, between danger and his daughter. His breathing slowed, heart rate controlled, hands steady. The janitor disappeared, and something else, someone else, began to emerge. 20 years of hiding, 20 years of quiet, 20 years of being underestimated were about to end. The corporate world had no idea that their dismissed, mocked, ignored janitor was about to become their salvation. Sophie peeked over the reception counter, watching her father, seeing something in his posture, something she had never seen before, but somehow always knew was there. Then, in one synchronized moment, the four strangers reached inside their jackets. The meeting was over. The real show was about to begin. Everything happened at once. 4 weapons appeared. Shouts erupted. People screamed. Chaos filled the lobby. "Everyone on the ground, now!" The leader's voice cut through panic like a blade. Corporate executives dove behind tables. Security guards fumbled for radios. Office workers sobbed in terror. But Michael Carter stood perfectly still, mop in hand, watching, calculating, waiting. One gunman pointed at him. "You, janitor, get down." Michael didn't move, didn't speak, just stared with eyes that suddenly looked different, colder, sharper, dangerous. "I said get down." The gunman stepped closer. Big mistake. In one fluid motion, Michael spun the mop like a staff, struck the weapon from the man's grip, swept his legs, and dropped him with a precise blow to the neck. The entire lobby went silent, except for the unconscious gunman hitting the floor. The remaining 3 attackers turned, shocked, confused. How did a janitor? Michael moved like water, like smoke, like 20 years of muscle memory, suddenly awakened. The second gunman fired, but Michael was already moving, using the mop handle to deflect, to strike, to control. A knee to the solar plexus, an elbow to the temple. Another man down. Office workers stared in absolute shock. This was their janitor, the man they mocked daily. The third attacker grabbed a female executive, held her as a human shield. "Stay back or she dies," Michael's voice, when he finally spoke, was calm, controlled, terrifying. "Let her go. You're just a janitor. What are you going to do?" Michael smiled, the first smile anyone had seen from him in years. "I'm not just a janitor." He threw the mop like a spear, perfect accuracy, hitting the gunman's wrist. Weapon clattered away. Before the man could react, Michael was there, arm around his throat, pressure point applied, lights out. The final gunman, desperate now. Ian fired wildly, but Michael moved like a ghost, closing distance, disarming, neutralizing. 4 professional attackers down in under 2 minutes. The corporate lobby, previously filled with screams, now held only silence, and the sound of Michael Carter breathing calmly. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Those moves, only special forces." An older man, a veteran himself, recognized the techniques. "Michael Carter, I know that name. Marine Force Reconnaissance, Desert Storm, Afghan Operations." The whispers spread. "That's Michael Carter, the war hero? He's been cleaning our floors?" Sophie ran from behind the counter, straight to her father's arms. "Daddy, you were amazing." Michael knelt down, hugged his daughter, his voice soft again. "Daddy just did what daddies do, protect their families." A corporate executive, the same one who had mocked him earlier, approached slowly. "Michael, we had no idea. We had no—" "You weren't supposed to," Michael replied, straightening his janitor uniform. "I came here for peace, for a simple life, for her." The CEO pushed through the crowd. "Mr. Carter, you saved all our lives. How can we ever—" "By treating people with respect," Michael interrupted. "By understanding that everyone has a story, has value, has something to offer." The security guard who had dismissed his warnings earlier looked ashamed. "Sir, I should have listened." Michael nodded. "We all make mistakes. What matters is learning from them." Police sirens wailed outside. Paramedics rushed in. News crews would arrive soon. But for now, in this moment, the corporate world finally saw, really saw, Michael Carter. Not the janitor, not the single dad they pitied, but the hero, the protector, the warrior who had chosen a different battlefield. Sophie looked up at her father, eyes shining with pride. "I always knew you were special, Daddy." Michael smiled, picked up his mop. "We're all special, sweetheart. Sometimes it just takes the right moment to show it." The 4 attackers were led away in handcuffs. The hostages were safe, and Michael Carter, janitor, father, hero, quietly began cleaning up the mess. Because that's what heroes do. They clean up the messes, they protect the innocent, and then they go back to work. Within hours, the story exploded across social media. Janitor hero stops armed attack, saves dozens of lives. Security footage went viral. Millions of views, millions of shares, millions of people finally seeing Michael Carter for who he really was. The office workers who had mocked him daily now approached with shame, with apologies, with respect. "Mr. Carter, we're so sorry. We were wrong. We judged you." Michael listened patiently, then spoke with the same quiet dignity he'd always shown. "We all see what we want to see. What matters is what we do when we finally see clearly." The CEO called a company meeting, offered Michael the head of security position, generous salary, corner office, executive benefits. Michael considered, then declined. "I appreciate the offer, but I like my work. I like my schedule. I like having time with my daughter." "But surely you want something, some recognition." "I want people to remember that heroes come in all forms, wear all uniforms, do all kinds of work." The transformation was remarkable, where once people had ignored him, now they greeted him warmly. Where once they had seen failure, now they saw strength. Sophie noticed the change immediately. At school, her classmates asked about her famous father. "Your dad is so cool. He's like a superhero," she smiled proudly. "He's always been my superhero. Now everyone else knows it too." Local news, national news, international coverage, all focused on the same story: the underestimated hero, the quiet warrior, the janitor who saved the day. But Michael's favorite moment came a week later, when a young janitor from another building approached him shyly. "Mr. Carter, I saw your story, and I wanted to say thank you for showing the world that our work matters, that we matter." Michael shook the young man's hand firmly. "Every honest job matters. Every person matters. Never let anyone tell you different." The corporate culture began to shift. People acknowledged the cleaning staff, learned their names, showed basic respect. Sophie started a school project titled "My Hero Dad," not about his military service, not about the attack, but about his daily dedication, his gentle strength, his unwavering love. Michael continued his work, same schedule, same roots, same quiet dignity. But now people saw him, really saw him. The mop remained his tool, but everyone understood now. It had always been wielded by the hands of a hero. If you believe that quiet strength deserves recognition, that heroes walk among us, wearing ordinary clothes, doing extraordinary things, type "I believe" in the comments. This story isn't just about one dramatic fight. It's about seeing, truly seeing, the people around us. Michael Carter never needed fame, never wanted recognition. He just wanted to protect his daughter and do honest work. But that simple mop, in the right hands, at the right moment, became the tool of salvation. The lesson is clear. Strength comes in many forms. Heroes wear many uniforms. And the person you dismiss today might be the one who saves your life tomorrow. Never underestimate the quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the ones who serve without seeking glory. Subscribe to HA Stories for more tales that touch the heart and open the mind.